North Yang, a princess of South Yang named Lan, arrived at the Holy Palace with her envoy. The messenger told Her Majesty that they had come here to strengthen the friendship between the countries. But the princess had been here less than 24 hours and had already suffered such great humiliation. He dared to ask Her Majesty how this could happen, and declared that if Her Majesty could not give a satisfactory answer, then Southern Yang would enter the war to wash away the princess's shame. In a country called Northern Yang, Princess Lan was a concubine, and now she was praying for His Majesty to grant her justice. Meanwhile, they approached the gazebo the Emperor was resting in. Xuan Yuanche is the Emperor of Northern Yang. The Empress Dowager of Northern Yang, who was currently by the Emperor's side, asked the envoy to calm down. She told the Emperor that she would be fair in the matter, explaining that the Empress was just plain stupid to make him suffer seriously. She also asked her son what he thought about the matter. "Empress, do you know what you did wrong?" the Emperor asked. Feng Tian, the Empress of Northern Yang, looked at the Emperor intently. What should I say to him now? The Emperor's concubine suddenly fell to her knees. She explained to the Emperor that the Empress had lost her grip for a second and it was unintentional. Moreover, she had just gotten up and was probably not fully awake yet. The messenger expressed angry indignation and asked how the concubine dared to open her mouth in front of the Emperor and who she even thought she was. This insolent tone angered the Empress. "How dare you?" she addressed the envoy. The Empress explained that this was the Northern Yan's harem. She was angered that the South Yan envoy thought he could interrupt this conversation. She also reminded them that their princess had entered the Northern Yan harem, and the harem business was a family affair. The Empress said that it would be possible to talk about national affairs when the princess returned to Southern Yan and the envoy arrived for peace talks. "You," was all the messenger could manage to say in a daze. He asked indignantly how the Empress could say such a thing. The Emperor and his mother watched puzzled. The Emperor asked since when did the arrogant Empress become so assertive and overbearing. Lan replied that this had been the case ever since she had entered Northern Yan's harem and become an integral part of it. She stated that she just wanted justice and asked if the Empress could do whatever she wanted in the harem. Lan was aware that the Empress was terrorizing the harem, but many hesitated to tell the truth. Today she stands here to get justice for the concubines. The girl said that even if she is punished, she will not give up. The Emperor's mother asked the princess to stand up. She agreed that the girl had been wronged, and she was willing to give her the justice that Lan deserved. "Thank you, Your Highness," Lan thanked, grinning slyly to herself. This is going so well," the girl thought. "The Empress is known to be bossy and arrogant and bullies the other concubines." As expected, Lan succeeded in getting her to hit herself with a little trick. During the fight, Lan punched the Empress in the chest. That was her plan from the beginning. The martial arts skills that Lan possessed were to make the Empress die in the same second. Even though Empress Still is still alive, the plan is in effect, and Lan can knock her off her pedestal in the blink of an eye. The Emperor's mother reprimanded the Empress for hitting people. Not only does she have no remorse, but she acts as if nothing happened. She asked if the royal law meant anything to the Empress and ordered her to apologize to the princess immediately. Otherwise, she was to find herself in a cold palace and think about what she had been doing all month. The Empress thought for a moment. The Emperor looked questioningly at the Empress, expecting to hear her answer. "Okay, I apologize," she said with a sigh. The envoy smiled wryly and said that according to the customs of the South, Yang-O should kneel 3 times and hit his head on the floor 9 times. The Empress had no choice but to agree to abide by the Southern Yan customs. Princess Lan smiled victoriously. Lan watched with a chuckle as the Empress bowed her head before her as she suddenly stood up abruptly. The Empress slapped the princess in the face. The blow was so strong that Lan couldn't keep her balance and fell down. The girl, coughing and rubbing her cheek burning from the blow, asked the Empress what she was doing. I barely had time to apologize before I hit her right away. I was thinking, I've already hit her. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100, the Empress said ironically. Tears came to Lan's eyes. She cried out in pain and asked me not to come any closer. The Emperor's mother abruptly jumped up from her seat. The messenger and the others present beside the emperor stood in a stupor. Oh my God, she had slapped her. Slap! Slap! The word echoed from one mouth to another. The emperor's eyes flashed with indignation at such an act by the empress. Lan had been publicly humiliated, and now she was trembling with resentment and tears. "You want me to apologize? Not in this life," the empress proudly declared. There was noise and commotion all around. The messenger ran up to the princess to ask if she was all right. The empress, however, took her maid, Zihu, and went with her to the cold palace. The large and heavy wooden door creaked open, and the empress and her maid entered the cold palace. Maid Zihu looked at the empty and cold walls of the palace in bewilderment, not understanding how the empress could live here. The whole point is that the maid didn't know the whole truth about the empress. Feng Qian walked forward, calmly stating that it was fine, and it wasn't that bad here. The empress actually died after Princess Lan stabbed her in the chest. Now the empress's body contains a soul from the modern era, the soul of the most famous and wanted criminal in the world, nicknamed Silver Fox. Destruction, disguise, tracking, escape skills, and the like are her specialty. But unfortunately, one day her plane crashed. Silver Fox thought that her life was coming to an end. But when she suddenly came to her senses, she found herself heading through space and time to the body of Empress Feng Qian in the northern Yang country. Fortunately, the Empress's memory was preserved, so the girl managed to get out of this situation flawlessly. Distracting the Empress from her thoughts, Zihu wondered why she didn't beg the Emperor for forgiveness. The maid believed that His Majesty would do her no harm because of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, Feng Qian's father, reports to only one person, the Emperor. The others, however, are subordinate to him. In the past, Feng Qian had the right to rule the harem, which eventually led to her death. The Empress realized that she didn't need to rely on her father too much. Feng Qian stated to Zihu that this place was very good. It was simple, spacious, and clean, yet luxurious. The Empress added that she was hungry and asked Zihu to bring some noodles. Barely having time to leave, Zihu soon returned. The girl looked sad, holding her cheek with her hand. The Empress inquired what had happened and who had hit Zihu. Zihu confessed that it was Servant Li from the royal kitchen. She went there to ask for a bowl of noodles, and Servant Li said that Her Highness only deserved leftovers, since she was in the cold palace. The servant tried to defend the Empress, but the Empress just slapped her. The Empress was utterly outraged at the words that she only deserved leftovers. Feng Qian asked to be taken to the royal kitchen. The Empress may live in a cold palace, but she is not going to starve to death. In the royal kitchen, one of the female workers asked Servant Li how she could have hit the Empress's servant. The woman remarked that the Empress is vindictive and she probably won't forget it. Servant Li smiled and emphasized that the Empress was sent to the cold palace. Therefore, she didn't understand what was the point of her being afraid of the lady in the cold palace. It's worth noting that Servant Li took care of the Emperor when he was a child. In addition, she is also the Empress Dowager, and the fact that Servant Li hit that girl was precisely for her sake. The women were talking about it in the kitchen without expecting any trouble. "It was you who struck my favor," came the stern and cold voice of the Empress, who entered the kitchen. The women warily exchanged a wary glance. Feng Qian's fierce gaze spoke eloquently that someone was in trouble right now. Zihu stood next to her, frightened. Servant Li started to justify that she was just following the rules of the palace. She stated that a woman in the cold palace was only entitled to leftovers. She also added that she was just teaching Feng Qian in this way on behalf of the Empress Dowager. With a quick step, Empress Feng Qian headed towards the culprit. In a second, she was already beside the Servant Li and slapped her in the face. Feng Qian angrily said that even though she was living in the cold palace, she was still the Empress. She promised to punish Servant Li for daring to be rude to her face. After falling to the floor from the blow, Servant Li became indignant, threatening that if the Empress Dowager found out about this incident, Feng Qian would be finished. Feng Qian declared that even if she was here, the servant still got what she deserved. Just at that moment, the Empress Dowager was announced to be arriving. The woman entered the kitchen with a maid and asked if her cake was ready. She was displeased at the delay and said she could not wait any longer. Servant Li began frantically making excuses and begging Her Highness to grant her justice. The cook began to explain that she was preparing a cake for the Empress Dowager, and not from where the servant Zihu appeared and asked to cook her noodles. She refused because she did not want to keep Her Highness waiting. She then started lying that the Empress got angry and came here to beat her up. In addition to that, she said that even if the Empress Dowager was here, she would still do what she did. Feng Qian silently listened to these dodgy speeches. "How dare you!" the Empress Dowager shouted in anger. Turning to Feng Qian, she inquired why the Empress had come to the royal kitchen and wreaked havoc here. The Empress Dowager ordered Feng Qian to bow down. Feng Qian gently took the woman's hand. In a calm voice, she reminded the Empress Dowager that she had also held her hand the moment Feng Qian first entered the palace. She then recalled the Empress Dowager's words that once Feng Qian took the Phoenix Seal from her, everyone would have to obey her orders, even the Empress Dowager herself. Feng Qian will be able to control the harem as long as she has this seal. The Empress Dowager couldn't find the right words to respond to this. Feng Qian looked on with a jubilant look and declared that the Phoenix Seal was now in her hands, which means that everyone in the harem must follow her orders. In her hands, the Empress was holding that fateful pouch. In the king's study, the Emperor was sitting on a small couch and apparently dozed off a bit. At least it seemed so from the outside. Suddenly, there was some kind of incomprehensible thud nearby. The Emperor inquired what the matter was, for he knew that a fallen shadow, the leader of the Shadow Guard, had come to see him. The girl reported to the Emperor that the Empress left the cold palace without permission and caused a scandal in the royal kitchen. In addition, she hit Servant Li and was rude to the Empress Dowager. According to the servants, the Empress Dowager almost fainted, and when she arrived back, she had to call a doctor immediately. The Emperor told the girl that from now on, she would not have to worry about such trivialities. He also asked if there was anything else she wanted to tell him. Fallen Shadow also told me that there were many kung fu masters around Princess Lan, and there was a suspicion that she might be up to something. The Emperor ordered her to be watched more closely as he would need her again. Looking at the girl, the Emperor noted that she looked worried, so he asked if there was anything else he needed to know. Fallen Shadow didn't know if it needed to be told, but still reported that the royal kitchen had reported that the noodles prepared by the best cook had been stolen, and they have a suspicion that the Empress may have done it. The Emperor was stunned by this news. Meanwhile, in the cold palace, some enjoy eating freshly cooked noodles. The Empress had gotten what she wanted after all. The girl was finally able to satisfy her appetite and was happily eating the dish she had stolen. Feng Qian was ready to just melt with pleasure. Oh, these noodles are really the best. The flavor is unbelievable, and that sweet sauce just spreads all over her body and lifts her spirits. I guess it totally justifies that occasion in the royal kitchen. The Empress quickly dispensed with her delicious dish. Oh, the good moments are always so fleeting. The girl realized that after all this, the royal kitchen would be more guarded, and this was most likely the last time she would be able to eat such delicious noodles. Ah, if only I could cook something, the girl sighed to herself. As soon as she said this, something immediately dropped audibly on her table. Feng Qian dumbfoundedly looked at the table and saw the cooking pot in front of her. Oh, what a thing. Did the cauldron fall straight from the sky? The girl stared at the dishes in amazement. She looked first at the cauldron, then at the ceiling, and then several times. But she couldn't figure out where the thing had come from. Besides, the girl couldn't tell exactly what material it was made of. It seemed to show a dragon pattern. It's so beautiful. The patterns on the outside look like hieroglyphics. Could it be a map? Either way, it looks quite valuable. Wow, but what's that? There's a light coming out of the pot, and there's a cat inside. Oh my God, he's talking. The cat tells me that the catalog is made of pure iron ice crystal and is a dragon's cauldron of good fortune. It's also sealed with an ancient matrix. Ha! The girl has survived a plane crash, a death, time travel, a battle, and now she sees a flying, short-haired American. But she had never been as calm as she was now. However, the cat has declared that this bowler is strong enough to destroy the world. Feng Qian felt so good that she started tickling this little woolly guest. The cat, meanwhile, was trying to tell him that this cauldron, the best thing he had created. The tickling prevented him from talking seriously about it, and he asked the girl to stop. "Ha ha ha, it feels good to you, doesn't it?" the Empress remarked with a smile and asked him not to be so serious. The cat asked her in a serious tone to calm down and talk about something else. They hadn't even introduced themselves to each other yet. Feng Qian mused aloud that the cat had suddenly appeared out of nowhere and handed over this precious cauldron, most likely not for free. She wanted to know what he really wanted. The cat was surprised by such cleverness and said that he was pleased to communicate with clever people. He said his name was Rice, and he lived and ate special Reiki food. Rice asked if the girl knew what this food was. But this was the first time she had heard of it, so she stated that she only knew the basic stuff. In her head, Feng Qian tried to call upon the memory of the girl whose body she had transmigrated into. So the Brain Express is up and running. We need to get to the brain's special archive. Found it! Here are all the documents related to Reiki. In Feng Qian's memory, there was information that North Yan was located in the Liyun continent. Here, if you have power, you will be respected. There is a special power in this world called Reiki. Reiki is used for battles. There are two types of users, Reiki masters and spiritual Reiki masters. Powerful Reiki masters can split a mountain and plunge it into the ocean. And powerful Reiki spiritual masters can burn a city to the ground or destroy an entire country. They're strong, but Reiki chefs are much stronger. That's because they can summon the gods. "So you want to give me this cauldron to become a Reiki chef?" the Empress asked thoughtfully. It was strange to her that he had chosen her among so many people. Besides, she wanted to know what benefit the cat would get from her becoming a Reiki chef. Feng Qian was distrustful of anything that was too good to be true. Ray said that the Empress doesn't need to hide anything from him. After all, the cat has spent many years in this palace, understands and knows perfectly well that she is no longer the same Feng Qian, and there is already another soul in this body. But it doesn't matter to him who she really is. The girl was relieved that he should have told her about this earlier. Of course, Rice wasn't going to give her anything for free. After he helped her become a powerful Reiki chef, he would take half of the Reiki dishes she would make. In other words, the Empress was to provide materials and labor, and the cat was to provide technology and equipment. Well, it wasn't such a bad deal. On the first day Silver Fox arrived in Lingling, she found her goal of becoming a powerful Reiki chef. Meanwhile, the Emperor called for Fallen Shadow to follow him. Does that mean that the noodles Feng Qian ate were Reiki food and prepared by a Reiki chef? The cat confirmed the girl's speculation, saying that this food was prepared by one of the best Reiki chefs in northern Yang, and usually only the Emperor could taste his food. The girl realized that it was the Reiki that made her feel so strange. Now she had to get rid of the bowl without anyone knowing it was her. The cat, ignoring the girl, stated that she had his wok now anyway, so it would be easy for Reika to cook such a meal now. However, he remembered that it would not be enough to only have this cauldron. One would also need a transformation spoon. Rice had somehow conjured up this spoon and explained that it was a royal cooking utensil to go with the cauldron. Where did he get it from? The Empress has noticed that this transformation spoon looks kind of strange, especially the bottom part of it. Those vertical stripes look like divisions. Rice asked her to try turning the handle just to see something.
Wow, just one swipe and the spoon turns into a spatula.
The girl tried to shake this kitchen item once more, but she was surprised to note that it didn't change anymore. Feng Qian asked the cat if, from what he said, she couldn't transform into 100 different things. Reese replied that it wasn't that simple. He emphasized that it is an unusual utensil and cannot be used as one wants to use it. In order for the item to receive more transformations, It had to become stronger. And with the strength that the Empress had now, she could only use the first-level transformation. Suddenly, a very unusual sensation was experienced by the Empress. It felt as if there was more information in her head than there had been before. Rice explained that just for convenience, he would enter some data into her brain. Dragon Luck Cauldron, Durability, 1,000 points, Defense, 1,000, Martial Art, Hand Over the Sky. Spoon of Transformation, Durability, 1,000, Defense, 1,000, Martial Art. Total Annihilation. Feng Chan wondered if this utensil could be used with martial arts. And the cat excitedly replied that this utensil was not only for cooking, but it was also a weapon. You can attack and defend with it. This is the perfect kind of royal utensil. The girl looked at the blade in amazement, mentally noting that it seemed quite sharp. Is this really something to fight with? Rice looked at the Empress and was surprised at her expression. Suddenly, Feng Chan felt as if she was in a daze. Everything went cold inside her. Some sixth sense told her to turn around at that moment. God, she turned around just in time. Someone with a sharp sword in his hand was heading straight for her. The man in black robes and mask rushed towards her at the speed of light, intending to attack. Fortunately, thanks to her keen intuition, the Empress managed to dodge. How deftly she dodged the blow, however, the attacker managed to cut off a strand of the Empress's hair. The intruder looked at the girl in surprise, not understanding how she had managed to dodge. An assassin! Feng Chan thought in astonishment. With a formidable tone, the assassin rudely asked the Empress where she was going. Feng Chan ran away with the speed of a mountain doe. The assassin followed her with all his agility and skill. Running out into the street, the Empress suddenly stopped abruptly and turned around to face her attacker. The assassin's gaze was bewildered that she was no longer running away, but at the same time, his angry eyes read only one thing: die. In an instant, he was right in front of the Empress and attacked without wasting a second. Feng Chan was very skillful in dodging every swing of his sword. But she has a special Reiki spatula with her, so why not use it right now? With that in mind, she began to spin the blade like a professional nunchaku fighter. This tool was rotating in her hands so fast that Feng Chan herself could hardly believe that she could do it. A few seconds later, the attacker was already in the victim's place. The Empress had skillfully seized him, placing the sharp edge of Reiki's kitchen shovel against the assassin's throat. How is that possible? He could only mutter, swallowing nervously. Feng Chan warned him that she could only give him one chance and told him to immediately confess who sent him. The Empress wished to know everything. Only by giving the information could the criminal get a chance to save his miserable life. The intruder seemed to be dumbfounded by the whole situation and didn't understand what was going on. He thought that the Empress shouldn't be skilled in martial arts. The assassin was surprised that the girl looked more like a criminal than he did. The Empress again asked the assassin who had sent him. The Empress again questioned the assassin about who had sent him. Die! The fiend wheezed ominously and rushed back into the attack. The Empress was infuriated beyond belief by this guy's self-confidence. The fact that he still hadn't given up was a problem. However, one could look at it as an opportunity to manifest. With a wave of the kitchen Reiki spatula, the girl mentally asked to be allowed to try the martial art. The spatula glowed with a magical light. Well then, it was worth trying total annihilation in action. Feng Chan rushed forward to attack the opponent. This battle clash promised to be epic. Like a shockwave, the assassin was thrown into the distance. Only fragments of his terrified scream could be heard in the distance. That's the power. The girl turned around quietly with the thought that it would be better for him to die outside so as not to dirty her palace. Meanwhile, the emperor, walking through the imperial garden and hearing strange screams, looked up. He felt as if something was flying from the coal palace, so he told Fallen Shadow to go and see what happened there. Xuan Yuanche thought about the fact that even though the empress was locked away, she still managed to give him trouble. However, the emperor was curious to know what she was going to do next. Back in the cold palace, the empress noticed that her hand was shaking and numb. Well, she was able to see that this martial art was very powerful, but also very heavy. She had only used this skill once and was already so tired. The Empress probably wouldn't be able to use it several times in a row. Looks like she should not only be more careful with him, but also needed to train more. The Empress's weak body completely limited Silver Fox's capabilities. This couldn't help but make her angry. In her emotions, the girl didn't notice a cat with a cauldron flying up behind her. When he got close, he cracked her on the head with the cauldron and told her not to use his spoon to hit people. After all, how could he cook with it afterwards if it got dirty? Feng Qian didn't expect such cunningness from Reese. Wow. He used the cauldron to hit her. But he noticed that the girl was the first to start. The Empress explained that it was an emergency situation. Besides, he himself had said that it was okay to use the inventory during battles. However, the cat was outraged by this kind of inventory use. Feng Qian was naively surprised that she had used all the Reiki and said that she now felt empty. She then handed the bowler and spoon to the cat, saying that she was going to sleep, and asked not to be disturbed. Calling herself a weak lady, she said many other things to Rice just to mess with his head and keep him from saying anything. He noted that he had never seen such a weak lady as the Empress, and marveled at how well she gave orders. "It's 2 o'clock in the morning." With a quick shadow, someone swept across the roof past the guard so quickly and quietly that he didn't even notice it. The sleepy maid walking with a lantern also didn't notice this dark shadow that swept very close to her. The king's kitchen, the pantry. A girl landed in front of the big heavy door, the same one who had snuck in here without anyone noticing. "Okay, we need to get this lock open as quickly as possible." A couple of deft hand movements and the lock is open. The door creaked open. "Oh, it's our Empress!" She peered into the room, pleased that she had picked this simple lock so easily. "What happened today? Why are you dressed up like that? I almost didn't recognize you, Empress Feng Qian." Someone's voice suddenly sounded behind her back. The girl's insides froze at the realization that someone was behind her. When had he been there? And why hadn't the Empress noticed him? "Ha, ha, it's just Rice." He didn't even realize the girl was petrified of fear when she heard his voice. Rice noticed that she was quite cautious. He wondered if she was here to bring him food. The Empress irritatedly told the cat that he had scared the hell out of her and explained that she was not here for entertainment. Rice noted that it seemed that some people here had no sense of humor. Rice ironically praised the Empress's appearance, surprised that she dressed like a servant. The girl replied that she could not leave her palace in her usual clothes. To remain unnoticed, she needed a change of attire. However, since the cat recognized her, the disguise didn't seem to be working. As she walked down the hallway, she noticed the shiny ingredients on the shelf. She wondered if they were the so-called Reiki materials. Rice confirmed that this glow is exactly characteristic of Reiki materials. This is the kind of Reiki that can only be found here. "Oh, I think the Empress has found the rice." The cat pointed out that only practitioners can see it. Feng Qian dipped her hands into the pot of rice and scooped it up with her hands. Wow, this is the first time she's seen green rice. Wow, it's so green that it turns blue. There was no limit to the Empress's surprise. So Feng Qian and Reese walked out of the storage room with their hands full and headed to the royal kitchen. Rice, eggs, seasonings. Great. Now they had all the ingredients. Perhaps they can use the stove in the royal kitchen while no one is there. Rice rounded his already huge eyes in anticipation. Today, he wanted to prepare a first-class cooking rice, namely egg-fried rice. The Empress did not fully share such emotions of his. Now that he had all the necessary ingredients, he decided to start the first lesson. Rice asked the Empress if she wanted to help him. She didn't really want to and asked him not to drag her into this. Mentally calling the Empress a brute, the cat decided to give her a simplified version. He took out a large book called Egg-Fried Rice. Feng Qian wondered where he got such a big book from and remarked aloud that they didn't have time to read. The Empress wanted to say something else, but the cat was already hovering over her head with the book. "Oh, looks like someone's going to get hit in the head again." The girl shrieked in surprise and asked the cat not to hit her so suddenly. At least with the stub, it would hurt so much. However, it seems that this blow was not an easy one. It was as if the Empress had been temporarily transported to another dimension. Wow, is this really the inside of the book? The girl found that she suddenly had all the knowledge from the book on how to make egg-fried rice from somewhere. Ha! So that was what that punch was for. Feng Qian had never imagined that there were so many technicalities in the simple preparation of fried rice. Perhaps she had really learned a lot. The girl deftly grabbed the cat and held it tightly in retaliation for that treacherous punch. "Sis, why did you used to shine like a star? Are you an angel from heaven?" Suddenly came someone's childish voice from the kitchen. The Empress turned around in surprise. God, where did the boy come from? Meanwhile, the child looked at Feng Qian with delight. "How did you manage to do that? This is so great!" he exclaimed loudly. The girl looked at the child apprehensively. Damn it! How much had this boy managed to see? And should she now destroy him for it? How come the Empress didn't notice this child who got so close to her? She seemed to be losing her knack, even though she was the #1 criminal. Deciding to find out first how much he had seen, the girl asked the boy who he was and why he was here. The boy sighed and scratched his head and said his name was Zhe. The boy was about to say what he was here for when his stomach rumbled loudly. Rice, sitting on the Empress's shoulder, assumed that Ji was hungry and had come here to look for food. Feng Qian seemed so cute about this child. She asked Jie why he was alone and where his mom was. The boy confessed that he hadn't seen his mom. So he doesn't have a mom? Feng Qian suddenly remembered something. The younger brother asks his sister if someone in her opinion will accept them. And will there be good food and beds? The question of whether she would be back after she finished work in 2 days also came to mind. He made a promise to his sister, saying that she would be a small dog if she broke her word. This was the last time Feng Qian saw her brother. Looking at it this way, her younger brother was the same age as this boy. The Empress offered Ji a deal. She offered to feed him amazing food in exchange for him keeping everything he saw here a secret. Upon hearing about the amazing food, the boy got excited and promised to keep it a secret. The Empress asked him to promise once more and touched her little finger to the boy's little finger. "Well, let's start with our Reiki dish," Rice exclaimed happily. The Empress asked Ji how about her fried rice, remarking that it was delicious. The boy confessed that he had never eaten fried rice before. Feng Qian started cooking under the strict guidance of the cat. Rice began the Empress's training from the basics. According to him, Reiki ingredients are divided into several levels according to quality. Each level has its own color: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, light gold, and the best is gold. Cat explained that the Reiki material of the same level is slightly different. It depends on the depth of color. This rice, for example, has a pale green color, which means that this rice is a high 4th level rice, which is almost the same as the 5th level. Such amazing Reiki material would cook faster in Rice's cauldron, which would help release all the Reiki from the rice. The cat was literally ready to sing the praises of his cauldron. Soon, incredible aromas filled the kitchen. Was it really ready already? It was fast. Feng Qian opened the wok and noted that the rice was ready, which meant that half the work was already done. Next, the Empress took the egg. The real show was coming up next. So you need to heat the oil and crack a few eggs. A couple of deft movements and the eggs fall into the pot. The Empress is clearly controlling her every action, making sure not to miss anything. The process started, the eggs frying, Feng Qian continuously stirring them. According to the recipe, the rice should be added when the eggs are almost done. The Empress performed this step, and a sizzling sound, catching up with drool, spread through the kitchen. Continue frying. Fry until the rice is mixed with the eggs and then add the spices. Wow, egg fried rice is ready. Great, so quick, and it made 2 servings at once. Rice praised the Empress, saying that as a beginner she had done quite well, and that she must be gifted indeed. The boy drooled in admiration in front of the plate. He called her cooking amazing, comparing it to magic. Feng Qian smiled and asked the boy to talk less and eat while it was hot. Ji was very hungry, so he obediently and with gusto began eating his rice. The Empress followed suit. Oh, it felt the same as the noodles back then. The girl felt Reiki flowing into her body, but At the same time, these feelings are much stronger, hotter, and brighter than before. And most importantly, it was so delicious. The girl thought she was a genius. The fried rice also delighted the boy indescribably. He said it was delicious and he had never eaten anything like it before. The Empress asked Ji to take his time, noting that there was still plenty of rice to eat. But the boy didn't listen to anything and ate it with both cheeks. Feng Qian was amused by this picture. She pointed out to the boy that he had rice all over his face. The one just laughed merrily in response. Meanwhile, in the emperor's bedchamber, Xuan Yuanche looked very agitated. He had just learned that the crown prince was missing. The meal was over and the pile of plates clinked together in a single stack. Wiping her mouth, the empress marveled that a cat could even do that. Meanwhile, Rice announced that she had used up all her skills for the day. Feng Qian observed that she could only prepare 10 dishes in one day, and each dish was enough for one person. She looked at the mountain of empty plates with surprise and noticed that they had indeed eaten a lot. Rice explained that when she trains, she makes mistakes. But the moment she tries to do something above her level, she doesn't repeat them anymore. That is why she can only cook 10 dishes and not a dish more. It is important to train intelligently. Za clasped his cheeks with both hands and admitted that he was hot and his face was burning. The Empress was also hot and suggested that it might be because of the fried rice. The cat explained that it was normal since they had eaten 5 Reiki meals. The fact that they were hot meant that their bodies were absorbing Reiki. Rice got his own portion of Reiki from the kitchen utensils when the Empress was cooking. Feng Jian noted that she felt 100 times better and full of energy. The boy looked at the Empress in surprise and asked who she was talking to. "Oh, looks like there's been a little slip-up." Feng Qian made up a reason on the fly and said that she was just overjoyed because the dishes she cooked were too delicious. Rice in turn explained that the Empress could communicate with him mentally, and the girl decided to try this method at once, mentally asking the cat why everything was different when she ate noodles. He replied that it was because of his cooking utensils. Even if the ingredients had the same level of Reiki, the dishes were completely different. The Empress was surprised to realize that he could actually hear her thoughts. But the cat explained that this was the way it was supposed to be and showed the girl a plaque that showed how much she had pumped her new skills. The girl smiled and asked if this board was really informative. Rice thought it was pretty easy to understand. Suddenly, the cat remembered that he had some good, interesting things to show the Empress. He was glad they were finally getting to it. From his backpack, the cat pulled out a lucky lottery tape measure. "Oh, is this a show or what?" Rice asked the Empress not to be distracted, explaining that this was the best place in his kitchen. The girl looked at the circle with colorful cells in surprise. What was he trying to show her? The cat excitedly explained that there was a treasure vault in the world where all the Reiki treasures were collected, but he didn't know anything more about it. In order to create good dishes, he designed and created this item that implied to use the Reiki dishes 10 times. By doing this, one can get the collection that is inside. The cat wondered if that wasn't cool. The Empress thought it was really cool, like playing cards. And daughter, if it was a real game, she would definitely bet all her money. Feng Qian asked why he didn't use his wonderful instrument. The one sadly declared that he couldn't cook with such small paws. After a second, the cat pressed the button to unwind the tape measure. The wheel turned very, very fast. Both the cat and the Empress froze in anticipation. The circle finally stopped, the arrow hitting the green color of the sector. Rice announced that the winning potion would be a drop of herbal potion. That's good because it's a potion that can cure all diseases. At this moment, Ji pulled the Empress by her dress. He thanked Feng Qian for the fried rice, calling it the best dish he had ever tasted. The boy confessed that it was his birthday, by the way. He said that he had heard from Yegu and Lu Feng that moms usually cook something special on this day. But his mom never made him a cake. How bitter and sad it was for the little boy to talk about it. "What kind of mother is this?" the Empress shouted indignantly. Feng Qian asked the boy to tell who this woman was in order to teach her a lesson. From what Ji said, the girl realized that his mother was still alive. The child admitted that his dad forbids him to see his mom. That's why she doesn't come to visit him, and the boy doesn't even know what she looks like. They were right. I'm just a child without a mother, he said, sobbing desperately. The Empress said affectionately that his tears made her sad. Of course, she couldn't claim to be his mother, but she could visit him and cook delicious meals. It was hard for the boy to believe that she was telling the truth. Suddenly, the creaking of the door was heard. Feng Qian explained that the workers had returned to the royal kitchen and they needed to leave quickly. She picked up the boy and ran towards the exit. The Empress ran brokenly and without looking around. She didn't notice when they found themselves in the imperial garden. She realized that they shouldn't be here at this time and looked around cautiously. The little boy pressed himself against the Empress's shoulder. Feng Qian asked the little one to wake up since they had already stopped. She promised to come back later and play with him. "Daddy?" the little boy suddenly said. "Oh, what did he say? Who the hell is Daddy? How dare you?" came a menacing male familiar voice behind me. Oh my God, it's the Emperor. He asked the Empress what happened to her and how dare she steal his son. What the hell is he doing here? This was the worst thing that could happen. The Empress was about to fall through the ground. Wait, what did he say? A prince? Is it really a prince? In other words, is he her son? Is this how it is to suddenly become mothers? It turns out Feng Qian didn't remember everything about this life. The Emperor told her to put the boy in his place. The Crown Prince's story was very interesting, but the Empress was by no means to be caught. Therefore, she must leave as soon as possible. I wonder why the guards still haven't come. Well, it would be foolish not to take such a chance. Feng Qian stopped and put the boy down. The Empress was very sorry for what she had to do, closed, but she could not do otherwise. She pushed Ji towards the Emperor so that he fell down and ran away. The Emperor hugged his son and told the guards to find the kidnapper immediately. Ha! Catching a silver fox. Do they seriously think was the best criminal because of her pretty eyes? The Empress has to figure out how she can get back to the cold palace. Hey, what's wrong with you? Calm down, I'm right here. The Emperor tried to comfort his son. He asked the boy how this could have happened and said he would take him to the imperial doctor. He must have hurt himself in the fall. The Empress had already regretted pushing Ji 100 times and was now watching excitedly from afar. Could it be that he's feeling ill because of that fried rice? The Empress was so busy trying to hide from Xuan Yuanche that she didn't notice what had happened to the boy. She should definitely pay him a visit. East Castle, the Crown Prince's castle. The maids were outside the palace, discussing their recent misadventure with the prince. One of them wondered how the prince could have been given eggs. As it turned out, everyone around him knew that Ji was allergic to eggs. While the maids were lamenting and sympathizing with the Emperor's son, on one of the roofs of the palace, the Empress was watching it all. Feng Qian was bitter at the realization that she was no mother at all. She hadn't taken care of her son for years, and she didn't even know that he was allergic to eggs. The Empress was racked with conscience, and she thought about how she could get inside. There are a lot of people in there, and it could be dangerous. The girl realized that she was at fault, and if something happened to Ji, she wouldn't forgive herself. What to do? She heard that the prince had irritation all over his body and a terrible fever. In addition, there were rumors that he might even become an invalid. Rice showed up just in time. He asked the girl not to get upset and reminded her that she still had that herbal tincture that cured all diseases. The cat offered to use it to cure the prince. That's right, Feng Qian had completely forgotten about it. Rice cheered up the girl and told her to go and cure little Ji without wasting a second. The palace of the Crown Prince. The Empress dared to go to the prince directly without making up anything. However, the guards at the door blocked her way. They asked who she was and how dare she break into the East Castle. I am Queen Feng Qian, and I have a medicine that can save the prince. Won't you let me in? The Empress shouted. One of the guards recognized the Empress and was surprised that the girl even pretended to be a queen. Feng Qian said that she had no time for this nonsense and knocked the guards out with a couple of deft punches. Reese looked dazedly at the guards lying on the floor and assumed that they had passed away. Feng Qian replied that they were just unconscious. and she didn't have time to explain. After all, she is a professional criminal, and she doesn't take her life for fun. Emphasizing that she had to save Ji first, the girl opened the door to the boy's room. She barely had time to do so before someone's masculine hand reached straight for the Empress. Oh God, someone grabbed her throat and squeezed her fingers tightly. It was hard to breathe, Feng Qian coughed. The Emperor realized that the situation with her son was her doing, and she was also in the Imperial Garden. The girl couldn't say a word. He asked what Feng Qian wanted, Riley remarking that even tigers don't kill their offspring, and she, a mother, had decided to feed and poison her son. The Empress tried to excuse herself through coughing that she would never have done it if she had known about the allergy. The Emperor couldn't believe she didn't know this and squeezed her throat harder. He tried to shame Feng Qian by saying that she was Ji's mother but didn't care about him at all. The Emperor said that a heartless person like her didn't deserve to be a mother or a queen. He wished he could interrupt her worthless life. Feng Qian asked the Emperor to listen to her, but he didn't want to hear a word from her. Xuan ordered her to stay out of his sight. He shoved the girl out the door and told her not to appear before him ever again. Deciding not to wait for him to close the door, the Empress shouted that she had an elixir that would cure Ji. She asked him to believe her, for once. The Emperor replied that she had caused enough trouble already, so he could not trust her. Even the Imperial doctor can't cure this disease. So how would the Empress be able to do it? Xuan asked her to stop lying, stating that he wouldn't believe her. "Bring her out," he ordered the guards immediately. The Empress sat worriedly on the floor, touching her neck red from the Emperor's grip. Nevertheless, the Empress tried to reach him again. She took out a vial of potion and declared that the herbal solution in her hands could cure all illnesses. The girl asked him to believe her, assuring him that it was the only thing that would help the boy. The Emperor, without turning around, inquired how could he give his child unknown. He asked Feng Qian not to waste his time, as he and would not be believed. "If you don't believe me, I'll drink it myself to prove it," the Empress thundered in desperation and directed the vial of elixir to her mouth. The girl tried to make sure only one drop got on her tongue, as she knew there were only 2 drops in the bottle. "The deed is done. We can only hope that at least after this, the Emperor will believe her. See, I'm fine." Feng Qian assured the Emperor and asked him again to trust her for once for Jay's sake. The Emperor loved his son, so he had no choice but to believe. Little Ji was getting worse at this time. The doctor at Ji's side noted that the prince's condition was worsening, even though he had already tried all the treatments. He was already beginning to fear that the prince might not survive this. The second doctor didn't understand how to explain this to the Emperor. Suddenly, the door to the room opened. Feng Qian walked in. The men looked at each other, not understanding who could break in here at this time and where the guards were. Ignoring the doctors, the Empress quickly made her way towards the boy's bed. The doctors tried to stop the girl, noting that the boy's condition was critical and he shouldn't be lifted so abruptly. Feng Qian, meanwhile, gently lifted Ji's head to help him drink the potion. Following the girl, the Emperor entered, much to the surprise of the doctors. He told them to leave Feng Qian alone and not to worry. Since they didn't have any medicine anyway, they could let the Empress try to cure Ji with the potion. Feng Qian helped the boy drink the herbal solution, but she didn't know for sure if it would help. However, the Empress tried to convince herself that Ji should get better. Suddenly, the boy's eyelashes fluttered. A couple seconds, and he slowly opened his eyes. Zach coughed, saying he was so hot and sick and his chest hurt so much. The boy looked painful and his breathing was intermittent. The Empress became alarmed. How could it be? Did the elixir not work? The Emperor angrily reprimanded. He was angry that he had believed Feng Qian. "How could you?" he said sadly. And at that very moment, the boy suddenly got up and sat on the bed. Seeing his father, he was very surprised. The Emperor was very relieved. The Empress breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed her elixir had worked. Owan asked his son how he was feeling. The boy replied that he was feeling much better and thanked his father for his care. The emperor was shocked by such a miraculous healing and couldn't be happy. Ji stated that after he drank something, he got a healthy feeling in his throat. The doctors also could not believe that the boy had recovered. They wanted to know immediately what this amazing cure was, but besides that, they wondered where the maid had gotten such a miracle elixir. The emperor asked one doctor to check on the prince to make sure of his condition. He emphasized that nothing should be overlooked. The doctor promised to do as the emperor said. After examining the boy, the doctor confidently declared that the prince was fine and the emperor could be at ease. However, there was something the doctor wanted to mention separately. He admitted that he had caught a strong Reiki in the prince. This gave him reason to believe that the boy had benefited from the incident. After all, not only had his physical health improved, but his kai had improved as well. Feng Qian, on the other hand, felt that his strength increased most likely when he ate her fried rice. The empress rushed over to Ji with a hug. She was so happy that the boy was fine. Ji was surprised at the presence of the maid who had cooked for him. Only now, her hug was too strong and the boy said he couldn't breathe like that. Feng Qian loosened her embrace slightly. She began to apologize for not being able to take care of him like a good mother, moreover, even endangering his life. She asked if he would forgive her and give her a chance to be a better mother. "Mother, sis, you're my mom." Ji looked at her in bewilderment. Then he looked at his father and asked if it was true. He wanted to know if he really had a mother. The emperor was silent, unable to find words. He just nodded silently in agreement. However, it was incomprehensible to the boy why he never his mom. It so happens that all this time she was by his side, and he didn't even know about it. Ji wanted to know the reason why his mother had done this to him. Could it be because he disobeyed, so much so that she didn't want to see him? Everyone else had mothers who loved them, but Ji hadn't even seen his. Without letting the empress answer, the boy broke out of her embrace and pushed Feng Qian away. "Is it because I don't know how to behave? Is it because you don't want to see me?" The boy continued to ask in tears, emphasizing that others receive love from their mother while he cannot even raise his eyes in her presence. Feng Qian stroked the prince's cheeks. She said that Ji was a good boy, and it was his mother's big mistake that she didn't give him real affection. The empress promised that she would take good care of him and do everything she could for him. She looked intently into her son's eyes and asked if he would give her another chance. "Mommy!" the boy shouted instead of answering, and in tears rushed to embrace her. He was happy that he finally had a mom. How good it was that he would no longer live without his mom. Without hiding his joy, he hugged the empress. Feng Qian was also happy. At this moment, she was willing to let him call himself whatever he wanted. The emperor watched this picture of the fusion of kindred souls in silence. After putting her son to bed, the empress said that he needed to rest and promised to come see him tomorrow. After all, today he was probably too tired after everything that had happened. Silver Fox didn't know everything about time travel. However, from now on, she realized that she was no longer alone in this world. From that moment on, the empress decided to be a good mother to Ji. The empress left the prince's room. Not far away, she spotted the emperor. He went outside and strolled down the alley near the crown prince's palace. The empress looked at Yuan with a doting look. The emperor is so cute when he's serious. Something shuddered in the girl's heart. She had never seen this man with such a soft expression before. As if sensing that Feng Qian had come out, the emperor abruptly turned his head in her direction. It's you, come out. Has he fallen asleep already?" the emperor asked coldly. From such abruptness, the girl was taken aback and confused. Without giving her a chance to recover, the emperor immediately pelted Feng Qian with questions. He wanted to know what she did when she got into the cold palace and why she was wearing maid clothes. "It's time to explain," he declared, drilling the empress with his barbed gaze. The girl replied that she had nothing to explain and he could call it whatever he wanted. These words caused the emperor to have mixed feelings. He abruptly turned around again and told Feng Qian to follow him. I wonder what else he was up to. It was difficult for the empress to read this person. Soon, not far away, Feng Qian saw a carriage with a pair of horses in harness. Oh, this is already very interesting. A carriage? Does he really want to take the Empress out of the palace? Why did he tell her to follow him? All these questions were worrying the girl at this moment. The curtain in the wagon opened, and a rather pretty girl peeked out from there. "Che, you finally arrived," she exclaimed happily. Feng Qian paused in thought. She thought about the fact that this little brother was very cute. I wonder what the relationship between this woman and the Emperor is? "What are you waiting for? Follow me," Emperor Feng Qian sternly ordered as he entered the carriage. The Empress was really beginning to be annoyed by his temper, but there was no time to think about that now. Despite the fact that all this alarmed the girl, she had to follow him. The Empress took hold of the edge of the carriage, intending to climb higher. But suddenly, the leg of that sweet and beautiful girl came down right in front of Feng Qian's face. "How dare you get on that wagon?" she said angrily and self-righteously, looking down at the Empress. She stated that Feng Qian's position was lower than this carriage and told the girl to be more careful and know her place. The Empress was taken aback at how quickly this woman's attitude had changed. Just a second ago, she had been so friendly. Where had that attitude gone? Although the Empress is still wearing the clothes of a servant girl, it's no wonder she's being treated like a servant. Meanwhile, the Emperor looked out of the carriage. Asking what she was waiting for, he told Feng Qian to quickly enter the carriage. "You're only sitting down because he said so," the carriage girl said with a frown on her eyebrows. She thought about how this time this upstart was just lucky. The Empress was finally in the carriage and chose a seat on the edge of the carriage away from the two men. All along the way, only the noise and creaking of the wheels could be heard. Feng Qian could feel the girl's dissatisfied and suspicious gaze on her. The entire trip had to feel uncomfortable. They finally announced that they had arrived. The wagon has stopped. Feng Qian carefully pulled back the edge of the curtain on the carriage window. The girl was the first to run outside. The Emperor came out after her. A handsome young man with long, dark hair met them there. The girl called him brother and rushed to meet him. The Empress could only watch from the window for now. I wonder where they had come to and who was meeting them. "I am Mu Qing Xiao. I greet His Majesty." The man introduced himself and bowed. "Don't do that," the Emperor asked. Xuan then turned to the Empress and said that these two, Mu Qing Xiao and Mu Qing Wang, were his teacher's grandsons. The Emperor explained that Mu Dai was seriously ill at the moment. Xuan wanted Feng Qian to help him. The Empress froze in surprise. She tried to comprehend what she had heard. So that's why she had been brought here. But what should she do now? The potion bottle was already empty. If Feng Qian helped him, the Emperor promised to fulfill whatever she wished. But if she couldn't, she would receive double punishment. With these words, Xuan told the Empress to proceed right away. But Feng Qian was well aware that the 2 drops of elixir she had were used to save Ji. The girl had no choice but to admit that she no longer had any elixir. The Emperor declared that it was not his problem. He threatened the Empress with serious consequences if she failed to do so. He put the girl at Qin Xiao's disposal and promised to visit the teacher next time. But now he must leave as he had a lot of work to do. The man thanked His Majesty for his concern. The Empress rushed to stop Xuan, but Qin Xiao blocked her way, explaining that the Emperor had his reasons for everything. And since Feng Qian was here, she had to do as she was told. The Empress watched with indignation and disappointment as the Emperor's carriage sped away without stopping. After waiting for the Emperor to leave, Qin Xiao asked Feng Qian to not be so rude and address the Emperor as His Majesty. The Empress faintly tried to justify herself by saying that the Emperor didn't say that she couldn't call him that. After a little while, the Emperor learned that a certain Feng Qian had been found breathless. Fallen Shadow reported to the Emperor that Feng Qian's body was found outside the palace. It was the master from Princess Lan's palace. The Emperor told him to send more people to guard the cold palace and ordered the shadows to be on standby. He also asked Fallen Shadow to report to him about any little thing. Wow, the Emperor even increased his influence, but she still stuck it out. And then there's that mysterious criminal. And the queen has been acting strange lately. The emperor is determined to find out what she's hiding. At the same time, oh God, there was a sword at the empress's throat. The point of the weapon was pressing harder and harder against the girl's delicate skin. Feng Qian swallowed nervously. The unknown woman was now holding the girl's life at risk. She said that Feng Qian only had two options: cure him or die. The woman urged her to choose wisely. The tip of the sword slid smoothly across the empress's neck, forming a small scratch. How did it come to this? It happened 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago at the gate. After the emperor left, Qin Xiao told the empress that she could not disobey the imperial decree and she had better obey it. She and her sister would be very grateful to Feng Qian if she really cured their grandfather. Realizing that she would only have one try, the girl all agreed to give it a try and asked her to take her to the sick man. Qing Wang, of course, didn't really want to let the empress in, but because of the emperor, she was forced to break her principles. Qin Xiao, on the contrary, kindly invited the empress to enter. Walking down the long corridor, Qin Xiao noticed that he still didn't know the empress's name. Feng Qian introduced herself. What? Feng's maiden name? The man clarified in surprise. Feng means phoenix. Master Mu's room. The trio entered the sick grandfather's bedroom. Qin Xiao turned to his mother, who was in the rooms, informing her that he had come with the doctor the emperor had provided. He introduced Feng Qian to his mother. Mu Xiaoqin, the mother of the two, rejoiced at the return of her children. The woman was embarrassed that the best doctor recommended by the emperor was so young. Feng Qian mentally noted that the woman's gaze was only disbelief, although the girl herself did not believe in her own strength right now. The doctors in the patient's room were most pleased. They thought that since the emperor himself had recommended this doctor, she must be a true master of her craft. They wanted to see the girl's skills as soon as possible. After all their methods of treatment had failed. They looked arrogantly at Feng Qiao while talking and smiling. The empress noticed that these two were looking down on her. They were naively putting her on a pedestal to see her fall later. It was then that Sister Qingwan intervened. She noticed that Feng Qian herself had said that she didn't have exclusive medical skills. The girl raised her voice at the empress, accusing her of deceiving the emperor and disguising herself as a doctor. She was most eager to see Feng Qian fail and generally thought that she should be kicked out. "Qingwan, shut up!" the restless maiden finally interrupted. Mu Xiaoqin abruptly interrupted her daughter's speech, stating that the emperor was very prudent and he would never endanger the life of his teacher as well. Moreover, the emperor's words were regarded as an order. If the emperor said to see her grandfather, then so be it. Besides, he had brought her here, confident that she could help. The daughter was confused. The empress, on the other hand, thought that this woman would be difficult to deal with, which meant she needed to escape as quickly as possible. Before doing so, however, the empress wanted to tell the truth. She admitted that she didn't have any medical skills, and no matter how much she wanted to, she would not be able to cure the patient. Mu Xiaoqin glared angrily at the empress. She drew her sword lightning fast, pulling it from its sheath. Feng Qian froze in horror. Everything happened so quickly that she didn't have time to realize anything. "Mom, you can't do this!" Qin Xiao shouted excitedly. Mu Xiaoqin put her sword to the empress's throat and reminded her that the emperor had sent her to help the sick man. She inquired as to the reason why Feng Qian then claimed that she could not cure him. The woman believed in the emperor's decision, so she declared that she would punish the girl if she tried to deceive him. And so it was at this point that she offered two options to choose from: cure the patient or die. Does Mu Xiaoqin really know martial arts? The empress frantically searched for a way out of the situation, not realizing what she needed to do right now. While the woman was threatening the empress, her son suddenly fell to his knees and turned to Feng Qian. Following the emperor's example, he decided to trust the girl and asked if she could really do it to cure his grandfather. In return, he promised to serve her for the rest of his days. Feng Qian asked Xiao why he was doing this. She asked the man to get up immediately, explaining that she couldn't accept it. Xiao replied that her grandfather's life was in danger, and if it was in his power to influence her choice, it was worth it. The sister immediately ran up to Xiao, puzzled as to why he had fallen to his knees in front of this person. She asked him to get up now. But the man persisted and begged the empress to try to save his grandfather. Feng Qian hesitated for a moment. It seemed like she had no choice in this situation. Sighing, she promised to do her best. Hope sparkled in Xiao Xiao's eyes. He was very grateful to the girl for such a decision of hers. His sister still looked at Feng Qian with suspicion, thinking that she was pretending. Mu Xiaoqin put the sword back into the scabbard and told Feng Qian that she was their last hope. Zhao was the first to approach his grandfather, informing him that Miss Feng was here. He explained that she was invited by the emperor to cure him. The old man apologized to the empress on behalf of his wife. He justified her behavior by saying that she was just very worried about him, so she was confused. He believed that his fate was sealed and he wouldn't live for long. Teacher Mu didn't want Feng Qian to blame himself if he couldn't cure him. The empress was amazed that Teacher Mu cared so much about her feelings. No wonder, after all, he is the emperor's teacher, a very respected person. Well, Feng Qian should do everything in her power to cure him. She asked her grandfather not to worry, reassuring him that there was always a way out. The empress gently touched his hand. Thanks to her brother Luo Bing from her past life, she knew about pulse rate. He had once even suggested that she study medicine with him. In her previous life, Silver Fox didn't understand why she knew how to save people, and why they needed to. They were criminals. Her brother explained to her that if she knew how to save a man, she would of course know how to destroy him. But what he was most worried about was that when she was hurt and he wasn't around, his sister could save herself. The closest person to Silver Fox was exactly Luo Bing. Not only was he a master in medicine, but he was also excellent in martial arts. When she was young and had insulted some important political figure, she was put on the list of those who needed to be gotten rid of. In a battle against 10 high-ranking criminals, her brother only used one needle, and he got them to leave the girl alone. She eventually died from a plane crash. The death came so suddenly that she didn't even have time to have one last conversation with her brother. Putting aside thoughts of the past, Feng Qian focused on the patient's pulse. She wondered aloud if his pulse was fast or shallow. That's very strange. The girl asked him how long he had had this disease and where it came from. Xiao decided to answer in his grandfather's place and explained that Teacher Mu had left home a month ago. When he returned, everything was fine, but a few days later he became very ill. No one could diagnose what the disease was, so he only took a few medications to improve his physical condition. However, he did not get better. It started to happen every day. Recently, Grandpa slept all day long. Xiao remarked that this was only a small part of the situation and asked if Feng Qian had any ideas. The girl realized that there was no more point in looking to her brother's modern medicine for clues. But aloud, she said that the condition of the patient was very unstable and therefore she should think it over a little. Mu Xiaoqin asked Feng Qian to think properly about her father's illness and asked Zhao to take the girl to the guest room. She also told her to protect the guest the entire time and not to be rude to her in any way. The man went to escort the empress to the guest room. Feng Qian understood that he was not there to protect her, but to look after her. At this moment, the girl really had no ideas. She could only wait for tomorrow, fry 10 eggs, and play Rice's Lucky Roulette. On the way to the guest room, Zhao asked Feng Qian not to be angry with his mother. The empress already understood that the woman was just taking care of her father. In addition, the man apologized for his sister as well. The empress decided that there was no point in her being angry at the child. Finally, they arrived at the site. Entering their room, Xiao asked if Feng Qian was satisfied with everything, adding that if she didn't like something, they could change it. But the girl said that everything was fine, mentally admiring how nice the rooms in this manor were. Suddenly, the man looked at Feng Qian excitedly. He noticed that there was blood left on Miss Feng's clothes. The girl suggested that it must be from the sword. Zhao, in turn, offered to bring some spare clothes for her to change into. Feng Qian mentally noted that this guy was so shy. Should I flirt with him? Two girls are talking to each other. One of them congratulates the other girl named Lan, praising her for being able to reach the 4th level of Reiki fighter so quickly. But the other girl didn't know how to accept compliments and said that she still had a long way to go before Xiao Qing. The girl asked Lan why she was always comparing herself to him. The friend thought that a girl should be aware of her own beauty and giftedness. There was no better woman than Lan Yuzran, if only the two of them were together. Both girls approached Xiao, and the sister excitedly asked her brother to see who had come to see him. Xiao turned around at his sister's call. He was surprised to notice that Lan was here as well. The girl was happy to see him, noting that it had been quite a while since they had seen each other. Jingwan asked her brother what he was doing here and asked where that woman was. Xiao reminded his sister not to be rude to the guest. He explained that Feng Qian's clothes were stained with blood and she needed to change. Qingwan didn't understand why she should treat some palace maid well. She felt bad around this deceitful woman. "It's my mistake if you feel uncomfortable around me." Feng Qian's voice sounded nearby. Qingwan was taken aback with surprise. A beautiful girl in a gorgeous outfit appeared in front of the girls. Feng Qian asked if there was anything else they wanted to tell her. Without waiting for a response from the maidens dumbfounded by her appearance, Feng Qian turned to Xiao and thanked him for the clothes. The one smilingly said it was all small things. Xiao said he was happy to do so. Lan was surprised to note mentally that Xiao was well-mannered and gallant, but he usually kept his distance. But why was he blushing now? What woman on earth could do that? Lan decided to speak first and admitted to Xiao that she had heard that he had already reached the 6th level of a Reiki fighter. In addition, she knew that they had a level 3 Reiki sun cook in their kitchen. Lan had also brought some Reiki materials from home. The sister tried to draw Xiao's attention to her friend, but it was all in vain. Xiao simply thanked Lan for everything and promised to return the Reiki materials to her later. Qingwan didn't see any need for this, assuming that their family and the Lan family would soon be related. She clung to her brother like a tick and suggested that they go inside and look at the Reiki materials. Xiao agreed and asked if Miss Feng wanted to go along with them. Of course the Empress wanted it. She simply couldn't miss it. Feng Qian decided to join them. You will see treasures that will expand your horizon," Wang hissed angrily, peering at the Empress. Approaching Lan, they introduced her to Feng Qian as a representative of one of the 4 major trading families in northern Yan. Therefore, she could obtain any treasures she wanted. Feng Qian ironically asked to show her this treasure that she would never have seen in her life. Lan reached out her hand and placed it on the stone table. A small ring glinted on her middle finger. The Empress didn't have time to say anything before Wang intervened, wryly noting aloud that Feng Qian seemed to have realistically never seen such a thing. Qingwan began to explain that it was called a storage ring. It could store a large amount of things in it and only wear a small ring on the finger. The girl tried to hurt Feng Qian by saying there was no point in telling if she would never have one anyway. She spoke endless nonsense, which her brother tried his best to suppress, emphasizing on his sister's disrespectful tone. Feng Qian was indignant in her heart. She promised that if this girl continued to talk about her like this, she would definitely be in trouble. Suddenly, Rice's cat appeared out of nowhere. Despite the Empress's wild surprise, he sat on her head and declared that if Lan met someone stronger than herself, it would be possible to steal her ring. Unlike the ring, Rice's backpack has infinite volume and cannot be stolen.